Hi, you guys. I'm so happy to be talking to you guys today. You all are killing it with Talks with Mama Tina. I can't wait to dive into it. But first, I have to say, Trell, I remember meeting you 2.5 years ago. We had just moved here, my husband and I, and we just started striking up a conversation. We were at a screening for a film, and like looking at all you've been doing in those, just in the 2.5 years since then, you've been killing it. I want to, like I said, dive into everything. I absolutely love what you've been doing. Trell, tell me how this project came about. How did Talks with Mama Tina come about?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I want to acknowledge that we shared with each other when we first met. We were talking about manifestation, like all of these things, and just to fast forward to now, like even in acknowledging your journey has been so incredible to watch unfold. You were just moving here, you
Yeah.
know what I mean, and like you are a natural now, and I was not too long ago moved here, had moved here too, so I just wanted to acknowledge that, but as far as Talks with Mama Tina, I probably don't have to tell you or anybody. Miss Tina rules Instagram.
Yes.
Like for real, hands down. And she has so much influence. I mean, it's rare that you see someone as seasoned as her that's seen like so many decades unfold, take to a platform that's new and upcoming and just make it her own.
Right.
And so, it was a couple of things. It was one, just seeing the power and the influence that she had, how much people love her. Two, just the time that we're in and the message that we're putting out is so important. And three, Miss Tina and I are very close. I never thought that I would call Miss Tina Knowles Lawson one of my best friends, but she truly is. Like we talk all the time, and I just admire her and love her so deeply. So in talking, we have a lot of conversations. And we were talking one day, and she was just like, Trell, we have to vote. We have to get out and vote. We have to have our voice heard. And we were going back and forth. And I was like, Miss Tina, like, I was just, I'll pick back up. I was just like talking, and she was like, we have to vote, Trell. We have to get out there. We have to, make our voice heard. And I was like, Miss Tina, I feel like you should lead the charge on that. You should, help people connect those dots and realize. And that's really Talks with Miss Tina was birthed out of a talk with with Mama Tina.
Wow.
Honestly. And yeah, that's how we got rolling from that seed that was planted.
I love it. And I love that, like you spoke about voting, right? And the show touches on topics including voter suppression, race relations, and other social issues affecting the African American community. Jasper, why was it so important for you guys to put an emphasis on these topics specifically?
I think as African Americans, we're so multifaceted. And, that's one of the best things about us. So, and I learned that early on. I went to Morehouse and I was so used to seeing everyone, I was around Black people my entire life. But when I got there, I saw so many different Black people, right? So we're all going through so much. So to have a show that touches on so many different topics from, how to ensure that your children are safe, how to ensure that they know what to do if they're ever pulled over, or how to have a lasting Black marriage. All these different things are so important. And now more than ever, with so much time to be with yourself, because everyone's still in the middle of a pandemic, to be with yourself, and it's so much reflection, right? So we want to make sure that we're using this time to really touch on those things that's most important to us, that really, really help us moving forward.
Trell, how will this show aid in the conversations that we're having at home, that we're having on the news, that we're having on social media? How will this show aid in the conversation against, the social injustices, the racism, the politics that we're currently facing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the beautiful thing about this show is that it meets people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
So many times I feel like when we're having these political conversations, it goes over people's heads. They're using words people don't understand, or, like it's excluding some people. The thing about Miss Tina, Mama Tina, as so many people affectionately call her, is that she is so relatable. She speaks to you like your grandmother would, like your mom would, like your aunt would. And that is why this show is so important. And that is the difference between how other people are making the connection and how we're able to make the connection. We're not trying to get people to come to a certain level. We're saying, okay, let's meet you where you are. Let's talk about what you want to talk about, but like let's tie it into what's happening.
And Jasper, you guys partner with African Pride on this show. How did you guys get that partnership? I know everybody wants to work with Miss Tina, so I don't think that was a problem getting the partnership, but can you speak to our viewers about, if they're at home and they're wanting to start their own show, how did you go about securing this partner for the show?
So my agency specializes in high impact partnerships, and African Pride, who had an amazing goal for 2020, was to really, really get behind voter awareness. So, knowing that was their goal to get behind voter awareness, it was a match made in heaven. So in terms of connecting with Trell and what Miss Tina wanted to do, I mean, the cards could not have aligned any better than they had for this partnership.
Wow, I love it. And Trell, talk to us about some of the upcoming episodes we can expect to see, leading up to the election.
Well, listen, I mean, you can expect to see it all. One thing about Miss Mama Tina, is that everybody loves her. Everybody loves talking to her. So you can expect to see conversations where you laugh, where you cry, where you learn, and I don't know, one thing that I can say in particular, and I'll talk about a past episode and then I'll talk about an upcoming episode, is the episode with Michelle Williams that aired not too long ago. I don't know if you had a chance to see it.
Yes.
Y'all, I mean, then I don't have to tell you, it was so beautiful, and it's such a refreshing conversation because it's not the typical interviews that you have with people. People are vulnerable and they are transparent, and it's all in love, and that's the beautiful thing about it. And so more of that, but also Miss Tina is hilarious. I mean, y'all see the corny jokes, but I'm telling you, in these upcoming episodes, you will see a side of her humor that will just make you fall even deeper in love with her. So I can say expect funny moments, lots of them.
Wow, we can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
We definitely can't wait. We're so excited for what's to come with the show. And I want to talk a little bit about some other things that you guys are, working on. Jasper, Mr. Morehouse, I like to call you Mr. Morehouse. Talk to us about how your extensive media career helped prepare you for executive producing this show. I mean, I'm sure this wasn't something that you thought would be in the cards for 2020, right? We didn't think we would be doing Zoom calls in 2020, but here we are and making it work. Talk to us about your career path and how it's helped you with your current role as executive producer.
Well, I'm a firm believer in God doesn't call to qualify, he qualifies to call. So it's a true testament that I would not have guessed that this was in the cards. And I'm in expectancy for what the rest of the year has has for us. But no, I did an extensive career in media with one of the largest media companies there is, and really, really learned a lot, met a lot of great people, and knew that, I wanted to be at that crossroads between connecting brands with the most amazing opportunities, also using the most amazing talent to help bring those things to life. So again, it was preparation that prepared us for this.
Definitely. And you guys don't do this alone, right? It's not just the two of you. You guys have a team behind you. Can you all, Trell, speak to us about the importance of collaboration and teamwork when you're trying to get something out like you guys have put out so beautifully done, so well produced in the midst of a pandemic? Can you talk to us about collaboration and teamwork?
Yeah, I learned this not too long ago. Collaboration over competition. And it's so real. Somebody said that and it really blew my mind. And that is literally what this show has been. So many amazing and talented Black talent have come together to make this show possible. I mean, from people who help us write, like Mamiya, Smogo Media, our incredible production team, Takara, who keeps us super organized. I mean, and the list goes on and on. Miss Tina's assistant, Miss Tina, of course. I mean, just all of these brilliant minds come together to create something that's so masterful. And you know what's also funny is that sometimes it's the guests. And I love that too. Like the guests will come in and they'll be like, oh, what if I talked about this? And we're like, oh yes, yes, you know what I mean? And so it is that, you know, age-old teamwork makes the dream work. And that's what's been keeping us together, you know, beyond the show. I think in this pandemic, the beautiful thing, there have been a lot of things that are just like, oh man, right? But one of the most beautiful things is how people have come together to make it work. And we know about making it work, right? We are resilient. We will figure it out. But I love the way every time that I get on my social media feed, I see people just loving on each other and building community with one another. And this show is also a reflection of that, the behind the scenes team.
And you guys do it so beautifully. I want to switch gears a little bit. Trell, talk to us about what you're doing with And Still I Vote. You're leading this charge, right? On this very important initiative that is educating, mobilizing, and providing resources for people in regards to voting in the upcoming election. Why was it important for you to get involved with this organization?
Actually, I'm gonna tell you the truth. When the pandemic first started, and the protests began, I was in a place of just like, man, like, I mean, it was slowly creeping into depression. And truthfully, it was like, I'd be like empowered one minute, and then the next minute, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to do anything. And one day I was just, you know, I just started meditating, because meditation, reading are things I've been doing. And like the same thing kept up. It was like, Trell, do what you can with what you have where you are. And I was like, what does that mean? And so I just started texting people, like literally like, hey, what are you working on? Can I help? And some way I found my way to Michael Skolnick, who is a political advisor. He's been an advisor for like Zendaya and Yara, incredible guy. And he was like, Trell, I could use your help. I'm doing this, this, and this. And he introduced me to the leadership conference, who has an initiative called And Still I Vote. And I thought it was so incredible because it's a derivative of Dr. Maya Angelou's And Still I Rise. And so automatically I'm like, tell me more. Like what, you know, what can I learn? And then when I learned more about it and what they were doing, I was like, you know what? It started to make me feel, it started to really lift my spirit, you know, just bringing whatever resources I had to the table. And I was like, this is it. This is what I do. I do what I can, where I am, with what I have. And that kind of snowballed into me, you know, I tell Miss Tina, like you talk to your friend, your best friend, your grandmother, your mom, like I'm like, Miss Tina, guess what I'm doing? And we started talking about it. And then I brought her into it because we had an opportunity to speak with some of the mothers of the movement. So Trayvon Martin's mother and Eric Garner's mother and Ahmaud Arbery's mother. And I was like, Miss Tina, these women need to hear from you. And she knew some of them from before. And we started to talk to them and build with them. And then, and we both just admired how they were turning their pain into purpose. They were literally saying, we are going to make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody else's son. And the way that we're going to do is by making sure that our people get to the polls. And so it just snowballed and we just kept building on it. I'm a creative through and through. And so I'm always like, what else can we do? How can we make it pop? You know, and that's really how it happened. But to answer your question short, it was just me trying to find a way to do something about what was happening with what I had.
Wow, that's amazing, Trell. You both are successful Black men who are, you know, moving the needle forward. But unfortunately, being successful does not exempt you two from racial profiling by the police, racism, or the injustice that, we all are facing in this country. Jasper, how are you all coping with everything that's going on in the media, in the news? George Floyd, Jacob Blake, Breonna Taylor, although she's a female, but how are you guys coping with the onset of racism, injustice against Black men and women in our community? How are you all coping with it and still managing to be on the forefront and still managing to, move the needle forward and get your voices heard and get our people's voices heard? How are you guys coping and managing this?
Well, as you mentioned, it's such a heavy time, and as Trell stated earlier, we all fall into those moments where, like, wait a minute, it's too much for me, so I have to take a step back. Let me unplug. Let me talk to someone who is skilled in this, and not just talking to my friends because I don't want them to, incite anything. I want to make sure that I'm having the right coping mechanism, so I can, continue to be a light, right? And we know that as being lights, you get everything, you attract everything, so you attract the darkness, other light, moth, the entire gamut. So I think that what's very, very important is to try your best to keep a level head throughout everything, because it's so easy to, get upset and it's so easy to say, you know what, forget this. I'm just gonna, be angry, or I'm gonna do this. But if you want to have effective change, then you want to take a step back and reassess. So I think that this is a time where we constantly have to reassess, because there's so much going on in the media. And depending on what channel you're looking at, you can, be ready to go. So I think it's important to make sure that you are not only feeding yourself with those positive things, be it affirmations, be it goals, motivation, all of those things, but you're also feeding your tribe too, because they may not know, like, hey, I need to pay someone to go talk to them, or I should go talk to someone for free. Mm-hmm. So you're the closest thing they're going to get to an outlet. So I just say continue to be encouraged. And we do this all the time, even with Trell and I see something in his story, I'm like, I needed that motivation. I needed that. Let me follow that page. Let me share this, because it's free to do that. And again, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. And just as we've survived, so many oppressions before in the past, we're going to get through this too. So we just have to continue to uplift each other.
Both of you also, got behind Miss Tina with this project, Talks with Mama Tina. You guys didn't hesitate to get behind her and help her to, push this out and do it again so beautifully and excellent, Black excellence. Why is it important for Black men to get behind and champion Black women?
Man, it is so, from someone who, has 4 sisters, an incredible mother, a grandmother who was a sharecropper, so once removed from a slave. Like, for me, all I've ever seen was Black women go to bat, stand up for, protect, not just their Black men, not just their families, but anybody that they seen, that they saw was being treated unjustly.
Right.
And for me, I take it as my responsibility. Mm-hmm. I don't have a choice but to protect those who will stop at nothing. I was telling Miss Tina yesterday, like, Miss Tina, she called me and she said, Trell, how are you? And she noticed that something was there, and I was a little bit irritated about something that was going on in my building. Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, this is what you need to do. This is what you're gonna let me talk to him. And it was no hesitation. Yeah. And that is Black women time and time and time again. And so I feel like it's our responsibility. And I think that you can tell people, like, you need to do this, you gotta do this, or you can show them how to do it. And what Jasper and I are doing is showing. You know what I mean? We are walking the walk with hopes that people see us and want to do it too.
Yes. Well, people are inspired by you too. I'm definitely inspired by you too. Before I let you go, Jasper, and both of you maybe can speak to this. What is your hope with the show as we continue to, we're 2 months out, I think November, December, this month, October, and then we'll be into 2021. What is your hope as we go into this, the last few months of the year with the show? What are you hoping people take away and get from it?
Well, one of my biggest hopes is that the people take from it is that the show is like soul food, right? Like you're gonna get something that's gonna feed you. So I need you to get fed, because I will time and time again, and I like to use this analogy because we all have our favorite dishes, right? But there's something that we probably never tried before, but the moment we try it, we're like, man, I like that too. And that's what you get with Talks with Mama Tina. It's so many different variations. Like even when we were discussing some of the topics, I'm like, are you sure we're talking about this? You sure you want this guest? You sure? Are you sure? And he's like, no. And then at the end of it, I'm like, this was amazing. Like this was amazing. I just hope that everyone, again, gets fed. And I love looking at the comments when people say, like, I didn't know I needed this. Like, that's so key. I didn't know I needed this. Or, wow, this person dropped so many gems. So I'm excited about that. And I continue to hope that others who view the show, be it now, afterwards, or whatever, that they continue to get fed.
Trell, what about you? What is your hope for the show as we move forward? Continue.
Yeah.
This year.
I think it's kind of twofold. Like one, I hope that people register to vote.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that people go out and vote. I hope that people mail in their vote. I hope that they learn about voting. You know, that's one thing. But on the other end of it, I really hope that people see this show and they are inspired, that they are encouraged, and that they just see they get to see that I get to share Mama Tina with more people in her truest, most beautiful light, which it shines so brightly, and people only see sometimes like 1% to 2%. So I'm hoping this takes them to like a 10-15%, and they get to see all the beauty that I see.
We love it, Trell. Thank you for Jasper, Trell, thank you guys for talking to us today. Thank you for being an inspiration. Thank you for what you're doing, the content that you're putting out. Thank you for this show, because I think that it's very needed right now, the climate that we're in, the topics that you guys tackle. So thank you so much for being beautiful Black men who are pushing the needle forward. Thank you.
Thank
you for having us.
Yes, of course. Bye, you guys.
Where is the buzz you said was mine?